This is a blog where I share my personal experience. Chapter 2: Elementary School Years. Not long after I entered elementary school, my mother brought home a new father. She had remarried. Being the youngest and seemingly the easiest to manipulate, I was the one he doted on. Spoiler alert: this man turned out to be absolutely despicable. Soon after starting school, I was encouraged to take up an extracurricular activity and began artistic gymnastics. The training was intense, but I truly enjoyed it. I trained 6 to 7 days a week, so I was rarely home. I had no time for the typical childhood playtime or schoolyard games. And I couldn't even keep up with TV shows like other kids. You might wonder why I needed rides to school every day. Well, I changed schools 6 times during my 6 years of elementary school. Even though we lived in the same house the entire time, I never knew the real reason, but according to my mother, it was so I could win titles in other prefectures. I had strong results in gymnastics, and after each competition, the school would hold a ceremony to recognize me. Schools loved having a student like me, so I was always publicly celebrated. Sometimes competitions were held during summer or winter breaks, and certain schools even allowed me to skip homework as a special rule. Thanks to all of that, I remained undefeated in local and regional contests. During my elementary school years, winning felt great, but I could also feel the pressure adults were placing on me. During slumps, I'd get stomachaches. If my mother came to watch practice and I wasn't doing well, she'd hit McCurrad chops and side kicks right there in the car on the way home. I understood clearly it wasn't me they wanted, it was the successful me. So, I worked hard to meet their expectations. Between the fearsome coach and my teammates, who were like comrades in arms, I improved quickly. I spent far more time with my gymnastics team than with my family, which helped me avoid thinking too much about home. About school life. After 6 transfers, I learned that schools vary widely. Some teachers are truly wonderful, while others are deeply disappointing. I was always the new kid, and treated as someone special because of gymnastics. On top of that, my mother had a flashy fashion sense and dressed me up like a doll every day. She curled my hair and styled me exactly how she pleased. Of course, this made me a target for bullying, especially from older students who didn't like it. They'd call me out constantly, and I'd respond cheekily, like, "If you care so much, why don't you try it yourself?" One day, a teacher pulled me aside for a chat. "I know you're being picked on," the teacher said. "But even so, if you were in the same position and had someone younger below you, would you do the same thing to them?" That moment made a deep impression on me. I realized how important it was, as I matured, not to repeat the wrongs done to me. That teacher's words shaped a part of who I became. But on the flip side, there were also teachers who clearly resented me. I'll never forget one particular homeroom session after school. The teacher suddenly said to the class, "I have doubts about Ari. I don't care if she's a transfer student or treated specially, but she's not following school rules. She doesn't wear a Rondo Seru backpack like the others, and she dresses too flashily. Don't any of you think that's a problem?" She didn't say it to me directly, but turned to my friends and pressured them for answers. I've always been blessed with good people around me. Even then, a few of my close friends stood up to the teacher. One said, "We know Ari doesn't have a Rondo Seru anymore, and we just see it as part of her individuality. What she wears doesn't change who she is." I could have tolerated being scolded directly, but using my friends to shame me? That, I couldn't forgive. I went straight to the principal. The following year, that teacher was no longer allowed to handle upper grade homerooms. It was a learning experience. Teachers like that still exist. As I approached the end of elementary school, all I had ever known was gymnastics. Everyone assumed I'd continue through to university, but I started to feel the pressure of having to maintain my rank. And I also wanted to explore other worlds. On top of that, I developed a recurring shoulder dislocation, so I made up my mind to quit. Telling my parents and coach felt like jumping off a cliff. They didn't accept it at first and tried hard to change my mind, but I stood firm. I said over and over again I'm quitting, until they finally let me go. Looking back, I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I had continued. After quitting, I started spending more time at home, and I began to see how awful things really were. The father who treated me so sweetly was abusing my brother horribly, both mentally and physically. I'm sure he did the same to my sister and mother. There were even listening devices all over the house. I couldn't make sense of it. When my parents argued, my father would go berserk. My mother feared for her life and reached out to her siblings for help. Back then, my father ran his own company, and it seems that the stress from business troubles broke him mentally. He began acting more and more erratically. Once, he shouted, "I'm going to die," and went into the forest with an axe to attempt suicide. I think that's around the time he started sexually abusing me too. Maybe he just stopped caring about anything at all. Eventually, my mother divorced him. We had to flee in the night, like a family escaping a nightmare. This was my childhood.